This isn't just another central bank experiment. China didn't quietly roll out a new digital coin. Oh no, what they just unleashed is a $1.2 trillion financial shockwave that could rewrite the global rulebook on how money moves across borders. While the West is still fumbling around with ancient SWIFT wires, you know, the same clunky system from the fax machine era, Beijing just hit the eject button. They've gone full throttle into the future with a digital Yuan system that doesn't just send payment instructions, it moves the actual money, instantly, globally. No middlemen, no Uncle Sam. This isn't a test run anymore, folks. China's already settling transactions across 200 countries and regions without ever touching SWIFT. That's not a workaround. That's an escape hatch, a financial firewall. Let me be clear, this is not about speed. This is about sovereignty. Beijing is rewiring the post-dollar world, one bilateral deal, one trade route, one supply chain at a time. They're cutting America out of the loop and building rails that they control. And get this, they've already processed over $250 billion worth of transactions in just the pilot phase. It's like they launched a stealth version of the Manhattan Project, but instead of nukes, it's code, currency, and cross-border control. This is China's monetary moonshot, and guess what? They're doing it all without firing a single shot. They're using programmable money to pull off what sanctions and tariffs never could. So here's the money map moment. The game has changed, and the US dollar's days as the world's untouchable gatekeeper, they might just be numbered. But here's the kicker. This isn't about scale, it's about strategy. China's not just trying to move more money faster, they're aiming to control the flow entirely. This is a digital power play, a move to shift the global financial center of gravity away from Washington and toward Beijing. While others debate the future of money, China's building it and plugging the rest of the world directly into their system. And this isn't speculation. Peterson Institute's Martin Shor-Zempa calls it the first real threat to the SWIFT IBAN regime. In 1944, Bretton Woods crowned the US dollar. In 2025, Beijing's coding up its own coronation. Since 2015, China's locked in over 41 bilateral currency swap deals worth nearly $580 billion. That's not just a network, it's a net. And it's catching more trade by the month. Nearly 40% of China's total trade is now conducted outside of SWIFT, routed through their own SIPS network, connecting over 1,400 banks in 110 countries. That means Saudi oil can now land in Chinese ports, clear in Yuan, and skip Uncle Sam's banks entirely. SWIFT's still big, moving 40 million messages a day, but China's architecture is catching up, and fast. Former IMF China chief Eswar Prasad calls it one of the most underreported financial revolutions of our time. But here's the twist. It's not just about moving money, it's about weaponizing it. The exodus from the dollar isn't ideological, it's practical. In 2024, Kenya bought oil from the UAE using yuan. Argentina repaid an IMF loan in yuan. These countries aren't ditching the dollar, they're hedging against it. And the digital yuan? It doesn't need correspondent banks, it's plug and play for anyone fed up with US financial pressure. Carmen Reinhart, formerly of the World Bank, says it flat out, they're not rejecting the dollar, they're protecting themselves from it. Here's where it gets wild. In a pilot with Hong Kong and the UAE, the ECNY cleared trade invoices in seconds and slashed transaction costs by up to 98%. No middlemen, no delays, just instant value transfer. The kind of thing SWIFT was never designed to do. Josh Lipsky of the Atlantic Council put it best. China's not building a faster train, they're tearing out the ticket booths. And the rails? SIPS is already handling 83 billion a day. That's not beta, that's fully operational. But here's the kicker. This system runs on speed and surveillance. If you're using ECNY, you're on China's grid. Who holds the kill switch? That's the trillion-dollar question. Take ASEAN, now China's top trade partner, with $975 billion in two-way trade. Over 33% of that is settled in non-dollar currencies. Indonesian shops? Skipping the dollar with Yuan QR wallets. Malaysia, linking its payment rails directly to China's. China's not just exporting goods anymore, it's exporting norms. Financial norms. If you're using China's rails, you're playing by China's rules. Sovereignty may look intact, but dependency? That's another story. Meanwhile, US sanctions are having the opposite effect. Since Russia got kicked off SWIFT, SIPS traffic is up 90%. More countries are signing on. China's swap lines with Brazil, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia are growing. And even allies like Indonesia and the UAE are testing yuan settlements in oil and agriculture. The irony? The US dollar was weaponized to isolate adversaries, but it's motivating those same countries to build around it. Innovation by necessity. And this time, the next big breakthrough might not come from Silicon Valley, but from Shanghai. Look at Belt and Road, over 1.1 trillion invested. And now, the digital yuan is the settlement glue. Ports in Kenya, rail in Laos, contractors are getting paid in eCNY, tracked by smart contracts. That's not just finance, that's programmable alignment. Alicia Garcia Herrero of Natixis nailed it. China doesn't just lend the money, it controls how it's spent. So what happens when eCNY becomes a closed loop, infrastructure, or digital colonization? Let's talk BRICS. Now with Saudi Arabia, Egypt, UAE in the mix, they're not just talking about CBDCs, they're testing them. China's digital yuan is already the lead horse. South-South trade? The yuan's overtaken the euro, not by protest, by prototype. This isn't de-dollarization by wrecking ball, it's a quiet revolution, region by region. Brazil and Russia want a shared framework by 2026, and when every region has its own financial grid, who calls the shots when crises hit? Back in the US, Trump's pushing 60% tariffs on Chinese goods. Beijing's counter? Not more tariffs, more eCNY. China's state banks are offering trade credits in digital yuan. Lower rates, faster settlements. And Hong Kong's banks are now offering yuan-based letters of credit, cheaper than the dollar. Mark Sobel, ex-Treasury, said it plain. Trump's pressure is accelerating the system built to survive that pressure. If tariffs can't slow them down, what can? This isn't a trade war anymore. It's a race to build the next global financial nervous system. The dollar isn't dead, but its days as undisputed gatekeeper, numbered. Because while the West argues about tariffs, China's laying programmable rails, embedding them in every trade deal, infrastructure project, and digital wallet across the global South. And these rails come with surveillance, programmable payouts, and control hardwired in. So let me leave you with this. If China controls the rails, writes the rules, and owns the routes, what happens when the world needs liquidity, but Washington's no longer the only game in town? China's not waiting for the next crisis, it's building the system that wins it before it even starts.